Today on Locked On Rockies, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite Colorado Rockies and his unfortunately not too great 2023. Let's talk Kyle Freeland. Let's talk about the things that have been an issue this year, but let's not forget that Freeland's still a key member of this team.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today. I am Paul Holden, your Colorado Rockies fan extraordinaire, and I didn't say what day it was. It's the 8th day of September. Welcome into today's Locked On Rockies podcast, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. Hey, if you're also on SiriusXM driving around there and or got the SiriusXM app, you can find us there as well. Today's episode of the Locked On Rockies podcast is all about Kyle Freeland, and it's also brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or enter promo code LockedOnMLB for a free water bottle with any order. You won't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you. Folks, I wanted to talk about Kyle Freeland today because off day, I know the Giants series preview. We'll talk a little bit about that, at least towards the end of the pod. But I wanted to talk about a veteran presence on this team and someone that I believe is still critically important to this team and is a key member on this team and is the right guy to have in Denver, more so just because of the guy he is, who he is, and the fact that even in a year where performance is down, velocity is down for Kyle Freeland, I still believe and I still look at Kyle Freeland as a pitcher that can take the mound and put the Rockies in a position to win a ball game. And if it, and his role of being, he might not be in the front end of the rotation, he might slip back, but right now he's the type of guy that we need to look to towards the end of the year as one of the big name vets for the Rockies. And just taking into consideration that he does great stuff off the field, as reflected by his nomination for the Roberto Clemente award, and his giveaways benefiting the Special Olympics, and his, of course, hometown ties to Colorado. So let's talk about some of the stuff that is been a struggle for Kyle Freeland. But I wanted to at least, give my respect to a guy that is really one of my favorite Rockies of all time, and one of my favorite Rockies of this recent stretch. And it's just by my appreciation, because I think it's very cool that he has been a key part of this team from the state as a pitcher and doing what he does. But unfortunately, 2023 hasn't been all that kind to Kyle Freeland. When you look at his stats and when you look at his numbers here this year, the home runs are up. 19 home runs he gave up in 2022, up to 28 this year, the highest total in his career. On track to set a new high in earned runs, unless he goes on a dominant stretch in which he's still 5 runs away from the career high, which he gave up last year at 88. And it's also approaching that run total as well. But in, about a little under 30 innings less, he's gotten 27 starts this year. So, he's still, it's still to be seen here for Kyle Freeland here. Batting average against him is up. Whip is up. Everything, not by a ton. I mean, Kyle Freeland's whip has only increased now. It's been 0.06 increase there, but the batting average against him has jumped up 18 points to 298. Batters batting nearly 300 against Kyle this year. Strikeouts are down as well. 131 strikeouts last year, which was the second most in Kyle's career, to only 91 this season, which is a tribute to the fact that everything, the fastball velocity is down, and that has been an issue for Kyle Freeland especially because all of this is correlated. And we go to a friend of the show, Patrick Lyons, over here on DNVR. Kyle Freeland finds a win with fastball velocity and run support. This is from September 5th, so a little bit before. And I wanted to read some of this here for you all because as always, Patrick does great work covering the team, and it's a good look into what's been going on with Kyle, especially by the numbers look here. One of more troubling dips for Freeland at the center of the downturn has been his fastball velocity. Last season brought the first sizable drop from 91.9 miles per hour on average to 90.2 miles per hour on its four-seam fastball. This year, it's averaged 88.8 miles per hour. Tuesday was no exception. During Colorado's 3-2 win, Freeland experienced an uptick in velocity during his last outing against Atlanta when he made better pitches, but faced a more formidable lineup than what the Arizona Diamondbacks ran out at Chase Field. A little bit more velo on the fastball definitely helps my other pitches play, he said last week. Having the velo up has helped me with confidence, pitch mix, and being able to have that 90-plus mile-an-hour fastball in the tank and not really having to reach for it, but knowing that it's right there for me. So that's one key point there. It's the confidence. It's the ability to throw that pitch consistently and to realize that he can still do that. So one thing that we want to monitor and we want to look at as these starts go on is that average velocity. Is Kyle Freeland able to reach that 90 mile per hour pitch more often than not? Is he able to do it more consistently without reaching for it, like he mentioned, without working extra to get to that point? And if that velocity isn't there, what does Kyle Freeland start doing in terms of his pitch mix and terms of his approach to batters? Because we'll read a little bit more here, but he has to be able to adapt, and he has to be able to change the approach. And it just kind of goes to, are the Rockies coaching staffs, are they going to be able to find that? Are they going to be able to unlock this possible next era of Kyle Freeland that we have to discover and find out? This next version of Kyle Freeland that we need to see. That'll be we'll I think get a little look of that through the rest of the season, and as what we see Kyle looking like when it comes to spring training time. Let's go back to the piece here again from Patrick Lyons, DNVR. Kyle Freeland finds a win with fastball velocity and run support down. Let's see. When I change my arm slot, bad things happen, the 30-year-old shared. Usually it's if I'm dropping my arm, and that means everything's flattening out. So it was a mechanical thing with me, and this is speaking about the control issues in Arizona in his last start. I worked on it over the past month or so, getting my mechanics right to where I can really drive off my back leg and create that momentum going forward, and then use my arm with that motion. And Patrick goes on to write, control was the issue against the Diamondbacks as Freeland walked 3. He had walked that many in his last 5 starts combined, but he was able to make the pitches needed to get out of some jams. For Freeland's sakes, Colorado responded with a run in the third thanks to a throwing error prompted by Ezequiel Tovar's second stolen base of the inning. And going forward here, 3 runs support aren't much, but Freeland happily accepted. He's averaged 3.52 runs of support this season, the second lowest mark among qualified pitchers. On the road, that number is even lower. In his 12 starts away from Coors Field this season, Colorado had just scored 20 times, an average of 2.66 runs, that is lowest on the road in the majors. It's contributing to why Freeland is tied for the most losses in the National League with 14. His last win before Tuesday night came against the Chicago White Sox on August 19th, and that was due to that. But I like this closing part here. Freeland may not have his best fastball this season, but he doesn't always need it to get results at this point in his career. Besides, he's a left-hander in his 30s now. If it could work for Jamie Moyer into his 40s, it can't all be that bad. I think Freeland has the mindset and the ability and the flexibility to change his approach into it, and just because I think he's confident enough to be able to induce weak contact, which he's so good at doing. Kyle Freeland has gotten himself out of so many jams by pitching to contact and getting that double play ball, which has been so key to his career. And being a lefty, I think that, that adds a whole extra layer to it as well when it comes to deception, pitch mix, and what you can do with pitching. Let's dive more into the run differential as well, because that's a big part of Kyle Freeland's story this year in 2023. And that would be a reason, and that's something to consider and look at when evaluating Kyle Freeland as well, because he's also been unlucky, and it feels like he's been unlucky a lot when it comes to run support throughout his career. Let's talk about that coming up here in segment number 2. But before we do that, got to tell you about our friends at Bird Dogs. And Bird Dogs have you covered when you are looking for your next favorite pair of shorts. I love my Bird Dogs. I absolutely think that they are some of the best shorts that I have ever had in my entire life. And I'm really not just blowing that up. I'm a guy that has thick thighs. I wear shorts literally every single day. And I just can't believe the amount of comfort I get in these suckers. And when you check out our promo code, not quite sure why my picture is so blurry there. Maybe I'll try it again. But you can get a free water bottle with your purchase. And I like I said, these shorts are great for anywhere. I wear them to work. I wear them casually. I wear them wherever. And they take great care of me because they give me the support I need, and they look great too. And there you go. If you want to check it out, birddogs.com/lockedonmlb. That is going to take you to where you need to go to get that free water bottle with any purchase. I promise you, your next favorite pair of shorts is waiting at Bird Dogs. Check it out at birddogs.com/lockedonmlb. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. And if your team is the Colorado Rockies, well, you're in the right spot, because that's what we do around here, is talk Rockies baseball each and every day here on your favorite streaming services, on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app, where you can also find your Rockies play-by-play action, and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. We were reading from the great coverage, as always, from Patrick Lyons, friend of the show there from DNVR Rockies there, how Kyle Freeland is tied for the second, or he has the second lowest mark among qualifying pitchers when it comes to run support. And that means Kyle Freeland is getting 3.52 runs of support this season. And when you look at that, and when you look at the losses that the Rockies have sustained, some of them got a little out of hand, and some of them you kind of got to attribute to the bullpen, but there were close games, especially when you're looking at, say, some games and some starts back in July, a 1-run loss to San Francisco, Houston, a 3-run loss there, and a couple of other tight ball games there against San Diego, Kansas City, a handful of games you can point to throughout the season here, and look at and say, hey, you know, it's not necessarily Kyle, all on Kyle. He's had some solid starts, but unfortunately, everything is up. He hasn't been able to throw a shutout here in a long time. I don't think he is left. You know, he has 4 shutout appearances. But these are dating back to, no, a couple more there. No, those are home runs. Dating back to May at this point. So, unfortunately, when you're looking at Kyle, it's been kind of back and forth throughout the season as well. ERA in May, 4.11. ERA in June, 6.49. ERA in July, 4.32. ERA in August, 6.42. So just like with the Rockies all year, it hasn't been consistent, but the flashes are there. And with the lack of run support, and with the Rockies bullpen being the way it's been of late, and the Rockies' inability to score runs on the road, that's all important context to look at when we evaluate and think of Kyle Freeland and his role with the Rockies. He is a fine back half of the starting rotation pitcher to have for the Rockies, even with the downticks and things, because he still gives the Rockies a chance more often than not. This year, you might not always see it, but he does keep the games close, and does look for the Rockies to. It does have to be factor in the fact that his team hasn't scored him a whole lot of runs this year. A loss against Baltimore, he does give up 3, but with that average, the Rockies lose a 1-run ball game there. The Rockies win this game in Milwaukee with the big inning late in extras, but he doesn't have a ton of games where he's letting up an ungodly amount of runs. But sometimes with this Rockies offense, especially with Freeland on the bump, 3 runs seems like it's far too much. And it's just exemplified by the fact that Kyle Freeland's getting bit by the home run ball as well. The numbers jump, and then when Kyle Freeland has been missing this year, he's been missing bad, and he has been rocked at some points in the season. But he has been someone that has been able to go and get 6 innings worth of work, 5 innings worth of work, more often than not here. But unfortunately, when it's bad for Kyle, things usually get pretty bad, and that's been the key issue here. But we'll see. The last month was a pretty big, arguably his worst month of the season outside of June and August, not kind to Kyle Freeland, but a good start, a solid start, another 6 innings worth of work for Kyle Freeland in a winning effort for the Rockies. He's certainly not been the main issue. The Rockies are losing a bunch of ball games here, but the downward trends and the other concerns there are something to keep your eye on and something to look at. But as the Rockies keep going through this path and going through this stage, I'm still going to be okay seeing Kyle Freeland take the mound for the Rockies, because I think he can do enough to keep the Rockies in the game. And if this Rockies offense is just going to hopefully get better over time with the young guys getting more at-bats and more major league time, I'm hopeful that Kyle Freeland is going to be able to keep the Rockies in the slugfest, keep games in control, keep games under 5 runs if he's able to hit his spots and see a little bit and feel confident in his pitching. Even if the velocity isn't there, then I hope that the Rockies offense is going to do a little bit more backing up of Kyle Freeland, because I just think that's important context to see there of how little run support Kyle Freeland has gotten this year, how it's worse on the road. That's important to keep in mind. It doesn't excuse the other stuff, and it doesn't say that the trends downward in velocity and uptick in home runs and isn't all pretty big warning signs. But when I'm looking at the state of the rotation, when I'm looking at the state of the Rockies, I'm still okay with Kyle Freeland being someone that takes the ball and gets and puts the Rockies in a situation to win. So we'll see. The big downward trends in velocity, big upticks in home runs, very worrying. But hopefully this year is just going to end up being some sort of an anomaly, some sort of a weird thing. And next year, with the understanding and with the more confidence in these guys, and maybe the return of Chris Bryant and Herman and the rest of the rotation, possibly for Herman, maybe that will help with Kyle. But those are still some big injuries those guys are recovering from, and it's going to be a while. And the Rockies need Kyle Freeland to have a strong month of September. Just for everyone's sake, I think, to just feel a little bit more confident, for Kyle to feel more confident, and for the Rockies to feel more confident in their guy as well going forward. Kyle Freeland has been someone, though, that you just can't understate the importance of having a guy like Kyle Freeland, a guy that does a lot for the community, a guy that's from the area, a guy that really buys in and really approaches being a Rocky with class and professionalism and wants to make an impact and wants to make a statement and cares deeply about Rockies baseball. He's an emotional guy on the mound. He's not afraid to show it. He's not afraid to vent frustrations and be someone to show how he's feeling and show that he cares on the mound. He is the right type of guy to keep around. He is the right type of veteran to be there for the Rockies, even though most of the young guys and most of the other things are position players. But for these young guys making their debuts this year, for all the pitchers the Rockies have used this year, Kyle Freeland is the exact type of guy that you want to be able to talk about and process and game plan with. And then outside of the field, his work with Special Olympics and his work in the community is tops. It's hopefully going to be it's going to be recognized by the league in some capacity by just being a nominee. But it's certainly something to give Kyle Freeland props for as well. So I'm always rooting for Kyle Freeland. I mean, this is just total fan stuff as well. He is the type of guy that makes me like the Rockies. He is the type of player on the Rockies that I like to root for. He is someone that I want to be successful, and I want him to be part of Rockies' success because he has been, and he's been key in those moments and key in certain situations. But he's just a guy that I feel like I just respect the heck out of and really enjoy watching play, and I really enjoy his story as well. So there's your Kyle Freeland talk. Let's take a look at the weekend matchup ahead of us here between the Rockies and the Giants. Before we do that, though, I got to tell you about our friends at FanDuel. Yes, FanDuel, folks, you know what's here. You know what time it is. It is football time, and FanDuel has got you covered with all sorts of incredible offers. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use, and you can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Don't miss out. $200 in bonus bets guaranteed and $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket at FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, if you like the pod, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate you tuning in and joining us here. If you want to support the show, your subscription to the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel is the best way to help the show. It is the easiest way to help the show, and it is a nice little boost for me, and I really appreciate it. You can also find us on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app. So just to put a bow on it, I am concerned about the trends that Kyle Freeland is showing. Yes. But I still believe in Kyle Freeland's ability. I still believe in Kyle Freeland's understanding of Coors Field and being a Rocky. And I still believe in Kyle Freeland's presence in the locker room. I just really think that he is the right type of guy to have around in a scenario and in a season like this. And he's someone that is going to go through and show adversity, as he's going to have to be going into a new phase of his career while he adjusts and figures out this velocity stuff. He's going to I'm confident that he can make an adjustment because he is so good at getting double plays and inducing double plays that maybe it just becomes more about deception. Maybe it becomes a little bit of tweaking and changing they do, and maybe it's just a little bit different of a mindset or approach or conditioning that he takes into next season. I still believe in Kyle Freeland's ability to contribute to the Colorado Rockies, and I believe highly in the role that he plays for this team. Okay, so Rockies taking on the Giants, still looking for their first NL West series win of the season. Giants looking for some life here. They need a sweep, and they need a sweep bad, because it is going to be tough for them to get this NL wild card spot. I mean, they are certainly not out of it. It is going to be down to the last day, I am sure. They are currently in the midst of a 6-game losing streak, is San Francisco, and they are 2.5 games back. So if Miami, Cincinnati, Arizona, if they struggle, because Arizona, I believe, is matching up with the Cubs this weekend here. So they're going to be able to put some ground in between them and Arizona. So San Francisco looking for this team that is coming into their ballpark. Mind you, this is a road series for the Rockies. Certainly looking to not only get back above 500, but certainly cement themselves back into this wild card race here. Miami, Cincinnati also getting underway. Miami's playing Philly there, so big implications there, as Philly's also a wild card team. and Cincinnati is matching up with the Cardinals. So Cincinnati looking at, in a moment where they're looking at a weaker opponent and hoping to take advantage there. So this series will be one to watch for wildcard fans. It certainly will have massive implications here. In case you're curious, the Rockies have been officially eliminated from the playoffs, I believe. So there you go. But hey, here's another chance. It's another chance to play spoiler. It's another chance to get ABs against a competing team. It's another time for the Rockies to see what they got and see what they can get and make things worse for a Giants team here that has been struggling of late and hasn't necessarily dominated in a lot of ways this year. Lower team batting average than the Rockies, have scored fewer runs, fewer hits, more home runs, higher OBP, less slugging, and lower team ERA, whip, and walks, and more strikeouts, of course, as the Rockies, not a team that doing a lot of striking out there. So Ty Blach trying to do more great long relief and start work, as his last appearance was not the best, but he also had that dynamite start there against the Baltimore Orioles, so trying to do his best in a spot where he's, just Rockies are just filling the voids that has been the starting pitching this year. The Rockies going up against Kyle Harrison tonight, who is 1-1 this year. I believe he's made his making a young rookie this year, or getting his debut here. 4.7 ERA, 1.24 whip in 15 innings pitched, 14 hits to 21 strikeouts, 5 walks, giving up 5 home runs as well. So the Rockies may be able to put the ball over the wall. Hard to do that at Oracle, though, and Oracle's not been a kind place for the Rockies here and for a while, and the road, a tough place for the Rockies as well at 22-50. So we'll see how the Rockies do against the Giants, who are looking to get back into the wild card against their division little brother. Diamondbacks and Padres, I'll still say rivals, but Giants and Dodgers, they get little brother treatment, basically, because of their domination of the Rockies. I guess, the Diamondbacks could say that this year as well because of their domination of the Rockies. So maybe they get there, but they've been on the same level as the Rockies enough that I think we can keep them in a different fake nickname category. But folks, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. We are bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Find us on Locked On Rockies on the YouTube channel. Hey, for your second listen of the day, go check out the Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs podcasts, all available for you on your favorite streaming service. Until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.